On the couch we'll laugh and cry and feeling it all. Breaking down the big screen, the hits and the flaws. Grab your seat, press play, let's take the pic. Lights, camera, action, it's the Couch Critic.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Couch Critic. I'm your host, Nathan, and on today's episode, I'm very excited because it's not me again by myself. Because, no one wants to hear just me. They want somebody with me. And that somebody on this episode is one of my best friends. I kind of gave her a hard time the last time she was on the episode because I can. But she's here now. And it's my good best friend, Katy. Hi, Katy. How are you? Yay.
I've missed you. I've missed you. And we all know that people listen only for me, so glad to be back.
I
And
mean, I was telling Katy before we started recording that I noticed that my episode numbers go up slightly when she comes on the show.
just
So
saying, just saying.
I don't want to officially announce it yet because I don't know if it's like a sure can do thing, but I have reached out an olive branch of sorts and said,
You owe me.
Katy, please join me on this journey once again. So we'll see what happens in the future. I know Katy's super busy. I'm super busy, so we got to work our schedules out.
Yeah. And
But
it's probably going to take quite a bit of groveling, and so this will just be the start of that. But also,
so,
Nate, speaking of you being my bestie, we've known each other. We were just talking about how you came to visit Chattanooga, over 10 years ago. We need to make it happen again. Um, but I do want to say this movie that we're reviewing today, I was so excited about. And I was like, wow, this will be a great episode to hop back in on.
yeah, it's a great episode to hop back in on for you, not so much for me, and I'll tell you why when I introduce what this movie is. So this is a journey of Christmas movies once again, and this movie, while it takes place during Christmas, it's again one of those movies that I'm like, really, and that movie is Batman Returns. And Batman Returns stars Michael Keaton as Batman, of course, Danny DeVito as Penguin, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, and Christopher Walken as Max Shrek.
I
Crazy.
thought you were gonna say as Albert Einstein, but that's just what his hair
No.
looked. That's just what his wig looked
Yeah,
like.
that is what his hair looks like in the movie, but no. Okay, I won't talk like him the entire episode. But before we move on to what we liked and didn't like and why this movie was interesting to watch for Christmas, here's a little bit of trivia. Burgess Meredith, who played the Penguin in the original 1966 Batman TV show, was asked to play Penguin's father in this movie, but unfortunately, he was not able to do so due to illness. But do you know who played Penguin's father in this movie? Did you recognize who this was?
No, and it was for such a short amount of time. Who was it?
I know you are, but what am I? Does that give you a clue?
Set. Oh gosh, yes, but what's his name?
Pee-wee Herman.
That's
Pee-wee
pretty funny.
Herman
I
played.
he's got, I think, facial hair, so if that threw me. I'd have
Yeah,
to
he
go
has
back.
like a little bit of a mustache, which actually is funny because in the show Gotham, he also plays Penguin's father in that show. And sadly, he passed away. I think it was last year. He was battling cancer. And so, yeah, Paul Rubens was his real name. But yeah,
Oh.
Paul Rubens played him in this movie and also the show Gotham. So let's dive right into our likes and dislikes. I'm going to go ahead and just admit that on my side of this review episode, it's going to be very short because I fell asleep. And I don't think it was because it was boring, because I remember at some point I probably watched this movie and I did enjoy it because I do enjoy Michael Keaton. I think especially nowadays. I think Michael Keaton is very underrated. He's a very good actor. He was great when he played the Vulture in the Spider-Man movies. He was great in the movie Founder, where he played the founder of McDonald's. A lot of his recent stuff has been really, really good. 80s, he was in a lot of 80s cheesy kind of stuff. But then he played Batman, and he was awesome in the first Batman, and he was good in this one too. But I did fall asleep. So my only I can really say is I think they casted the movie really well.
Okay, yeah, I second that.
Yeah, I think Danny DeVito was creepy as the Penguin, in the 1966 movie, very cartoony, very comic book esque. In this Tim Burton version, of course, it's Tim Burton, so it was a lot more dark, gritty, creepy. Just very well casted. Michelle Pfeiffer is Catwoman, of course, fantastic. And then for some random reason, Christopher Walken is in this. So, Katie, what were some things that you liked? Because you stayed awake for the whole thing, right?
I did, but as soon as you said the name of our movie, my body yawned. So I didn't fall asleep, but I wasn't super thrilled. And actually, at what very early in the movie, I watched it with Scott, and he goes, can you fast forward on Amazon Prime? Or he was like asking if we could speed it up. He listened to all his books on like double speed, and he's like, I wish I could speed up this movie a little bit. It was dragging. But to start with our likes, I agree that the casting was exciting. Where I disagree is on the execution. Like Christopher Walken, maybe it was just his horrible wig the whole time. I mean, I laughed out loud when I saw it. I was like, this cannot be, like, I hope there was no nomination for any type of awards for costuming for this, because it was terrible. And because of that, I couldn't take anything he said seriously. So like, I didn't think it was like an underutilized Christopher Walken. I would argue Michael Keaton's Batman was better in the Flash movie last year than it was in this. He was not impressive to me at all. And I don't know if it was his fault, like if it's just who he was in the movie, like the space he was given. But I was just kind of schmeh. And then again, Michelle Pfeiffer, like knocked out of the ballpark to pick her. But when she's not Catwoman, I was not into it. And again, maybe it is all about script writing and it's not their fault. But she was not in any way believable to me as like the secretary, the bumbling secretary. Like I just was not. It felt so cheesy and corny. And then of course she becomes Batwoman. It's a little better. I mean, Catwoman gets a little bit better. Um, but gosh, Nathan, it was kind of one where I was like, surely this will be amazing. Look at all these people in it. And it fell flat for me.
And it wasn't amazing. And don't call me Shirley. But
Exactly.
speaking of Christopher Walken's wig, this movie was actually nominated for 2 Oscars, which is crazy to think about. Best effects, visual effects, and
You're
best
not gonna
makeup.
say it. No. Get out of here. There's no way.
It did not win.
Um,
It did not win either of those awards.
well,
It was nominated.
for sure. Let me find out what year that, like, what movies came out that year. They probably were just like, there's only 5 movies that came out, so all 5 get nominations.
I mean, honestly, I'm looking right now at IMDb, and apparently, like the BAFTA awards, it was nominated for best makeup.
I mean, Penguin was good.
Felix
And
Awards, best costume design and makeup.
okay, it was
Saturn
fine.
Awards. So like it was nominated for best makeup and best costume in a lot of awards, but it did not win. I don't think it won. It did win best makeup in the Saturn Awards.
Well,
So
Saturn
somebody,
was yeah.
and I think honestly, like you said, I think that was mostly for the Penguin, because Danny DeVito is unrecognizable as the Penguin. It's like one of those truly transformational roles for an actor, and I think that's probably where the heavy hitting makeup
They spent all their. They're like, oh crap, we forgot we have to give him a wig. We don't have time. We spent so much time making penguins.
Yeah, let's just Christopher Walken's in this. You know what? He's Christopher Walken.
I mean, Nathan, it looks like something from like Party City, like a Halloween costume. But anyway, I digress.
Wow,
It's not that
Party
important.
City. Way to Way to
R.I.P.
plug a store that's closing business. Wow, what a jerk.
Miss them. Okay, other
Crazy.
things about this. So I was looking for, I told you that already. I was looking forward to this because it's so classic. And I'd never seen Batman or Batman Returns, like, because this came out in 92. I was 2 years old. But I'd never seen it. And my son watches like Bat Wheels, and the Bat Wheels version, he like the car that is in the show is based on, I think, this version. Scott was telling me he actually got to see the Batmobile from this movie. Like it came through his like hometown and he got to like see it. So I know it's so iconic. So I'm thinking this could be a knockout movie. And the script writing was weird and awkward. It's been a while since I watched an action movie from like the early 90s. So, the not having that CGI stuff, some of it does seem so fake. The fighting is so subpar. Like, I'm sure a kung fu movie from the 60s would have had better fighting. So I don't think you could say it's just dated, but like the fighting scenes with Batman, so unimpressive. Like so weird and choppy and blocky and felt fake. I have really no positives about this movie. I felt like Batman wasn't even the hero. Like, tell me one heroic thing Batman did. He didn't take down really any of the villains. He wasn't some big heroic thing. And I know he's kind of the dark knight, right? He's like sort of a hero,
Vigilante.
but kind of not. So I'm like, he's just came across as like exactly what people say he is, just a rich guy with toys. And he barely was helpful. Catwoman was sexy, of course. But even her thing was just weird, and the fact she like gets thrown out of a window and then cats lick her to life, like this reminded me why I don't like DC in comparison to Marvel. And I felt like I loved the other Batman. I loved the one that had Arnold Schwarzenegger as Ice.
Wait, what? You liked that
Yes,
version?
I loved that one. That was the one that at least
Katie.
it's because
Katie, do you
that's the one that
realize
like I
do
grew
you
up with.
no, stop talking. Do you do you realize right now that a lot of people who may be listening are like probably turning off the episode right now because you just said you liked the
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr.
The
Freeze,
the
George Clooney as Batman?
Clooney's Batman was better than this one to me personally. And again, I wasn't expecting that. I This is my true honest opinion. I was not, and again, and maybe it's because I just grew up like George Clooney one. It was the very first Batman movie I watched. So like you maybe just I'm biased because that's my introduction to Batman. But I just was so unimpressed. And the storyline was weird, and the penguins were, everything was just weird. And it totally felt like I was watching Nightmare Before Christmas because it's Tim Burton and it's just this weird, like darkness, but also Christmas. And I think it just was so Tim Burton-y that it didn't feel like I was watching a superhero movie at all.
So, and you've said already that you've never seen the first Batman with Michael Keaton, correct?
I haven't. And so I would like to go back. It does make me curious because I think when you make a second one, maybe it would not be as good. Also, I was doing some research and people were making comments that Tim Burton, because it went so well the first one, that he sort of took more creative license. And so it was a little more Tim Burton-y. So maybe I would like the first one better. But this
I
just doesn't have that like dun 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 dun, 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 like I want there to be like Batman and he's like
did you wait,
kicking butt.
Katie,
That's Indian.
did you just use the Indiana Jones theme
Th-
song to say this is
Does
before
Batman have a
Batman?
song? I don't know if Batman has a song, does he?
Ba, 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 ba,
Oh yeah.
ba.
You're right. And I do appreciate the bat symbol in the sky. That was cool. And the visual of the Batmobile. It was just weird. Actually, the best scene to me in the whole movie was when Catwoman licked Batman's face. That was my favorite scene.
I think I was asleep. Um,
It was very sexy. Sorry.
did you know that the part where I guess she's in the mall or something and she whips all the mannequins' heads off, she did that in one take?
It's impressive. Go
Yeah,
Michelle Pfeiffer.
very
I see you,
impressive.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't say Michelle Pfeiffer did poor job overall. I thought she did a poor job as the secretary. As Catwoman, I thought she was incredible. And of course, I think, again, I never see this movie, but I feel like she is such an icon from that, right? Like just her in that the cat suit is a sex symbol from the 90s.
Yeah, I think maybe what she was probably trying to do is kind of like the Superman thing, like before she becomes Catwoman, she's this bumbling person. And then when she becomes this alter ego of Catwoman, but she didn't really, like you're saying, she didn't really pull it off that well. But again, I wouldn't know because I fell asleep. So I missed the entire movie because I remember waking up and I told my wife later because randomly after this movie ended, usually it starts something new after it. And I woke up and the show Chips was on. I don't know if you know what that show is, but it's like old school TV show about two cops. And I don't know why it chose to play that after Batman Returns, but it did. So with that, let us go ahead and review this thing. So as a Christmas movie,
oh yeah,
what would you rate Batman Returns?
okay, remind me, is 5 like Elf?
5 is
like,
the best,
okay,
like Charlie Brown Christmas.
okay,
And
okay.
1 is, what else did I give? I think I gave something else. I gave Babe a 1 as a Christmas movie, but I gave it a 5 because I think
Oh yeah, Babe is not a Christmas movie. I'm gonna give this a 1.5 because it's not like just set in wintertime. Like there's several Christmas references and there's a Christmas tree and the lighting of the Christmas tree and there's snow. and Tim Burton's version of Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, I'm giving it, even though I fell asleep, I still can give it a rating for Christmas because this could still be a Batman movie without Christmas in it. So I'm giving it a big old 1 out of 5 for my Christmas rating. And because I fell asleep, I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. Because
that's generous.
I think it is generous because I do think at one point in my life, I watched the entire thing and I actually did enjoy it. But I also agree with you. And I think it's because we're so spoiled with CGI, like you said earlier, and we're so spoiled with action-packed superhero movies that a superhero movie that's not so action-packed is kind of story-driven, kind of character-driven. It can come off as draggy and something you can fall asleep to. Yeah. So I think with that, that's why I give it a 3.5 because I still am like, Michael Keaton's just so great. And it's so
oh my gosh. Here's I'm gonna give it a 1.5. And here's why. Batman, when you think about the characters that meant something in this movie, Batman was one of the least, like he may have had less speaking roles than anyone else in the movie and less airtime. Him and Alfred were in the movie almost the same amount. So if you're gonna make a movie called Batman Returns, I need you to really let him show up, and he did not. So 1.5.
So that is Katie and I's thoughts on Batman Returns. We did not hold anything back, even though I was nice with my general rating. So that's that. So we are going to the month of April. I cannot believe that the school year is almost over. It's almost time for summer. I can't wait. So what are we starting the month of April with? Well, let me give you
my birthday.
Hint. Oh, let me give you a little hint with a quote. And Katie, if you know where this is from, don't say anything because I want our listeners to send us some fan mail to try to guess. So you can go to our show notes and click that send us a text link and try to guess what is the first movie in April based on this quote right here. This is it. Don't get scared now. What movie are we going to be reviewing for the first Tuesday in April? Send us some fan mail to find out. Thank you for listening to The Couch Critic, where every movie gets its close-up.
It's not just a movie, it's a way of life. We'll watch it together, day or night. So settle in close and don't miss a flick. This is the moment for the Couch Critic.